out of a weekend of magic up at Suncorp were some negative headlines, largely focused on this high tackle crackdown. What was your assessment of how it played out?
Yeah, there was negative headlines, but on a positive discussion. I listened to you guys before discuss the topic, and it's heading in a positive direction where we want it to head. It's just at which speed, and as I mentioned after the game, how do we calibrate the head highs so that we understand it and move forward as a game.
You made your reputation as a defensive coach when you were an assistant before you went on to become the head coach of the Roosters, and obviously their defence has been second to none since you've been at the club. So I want to ask you about the change in tackling styles we're now going to see. What for the NRL to get what they're trying to achieve, what will defence look like as far as pure tackling goes?
Well, this is the point, Paul, with that. It depends on if some of the ones, we had Lachlan Burr against us on the weekend, who got sent to the bin, who I don't think should have got sent to the bin. If we're going to have head highs in our game, accidental head highs. If we've got a really harsh crackdown and no contact with the head, we're going to see even more of a catching style. We're not going to do the shoulder contact that we wanted. So if you're going to go up top, because of the offload, you're going to have to really catch them and soft catch the tackle, which we don't want to do. The other one is to go low. The low tackles are very important in our game. But 20, 30 years ago, not 20 years ago, 30, 40 years ago, they used to be upright, square, give you both hips, both shoulders to tackle. Whereas now they shift and move their hips. A lot of the concussions are coming through some of the low tackling techniques. Some of our best tackles, but some of our most dangerous are. So it's going to take a little bit of time to move the tackle tech to make sure that we don't get the high shots, so we don't send them off, but we also re-practice new low techniques where we're not getting concussed.
One of the great qualities of the game is this gladiatorial aspect. Do you think the game will be able to maintain that while it addresses this concussion issue, or do you think it's one or the other?
No, I don't. I think this is the point. I've had a talk with some sort of prominent people over the last couple of days around it, and everybody's the same. So when the four of you were sitting around here, we all love the game, and you could hear the passion about our fabric of our game is a game that people want to watch because they can't play it, because it's so brutal that they'd love to, but
it's not made for everyone.
It's not made for everyone, so they want to watch that sport. But also, we've moved into a spot where we want to look after our players. We've let it run for too many years, and we need to protect the players. So that's the debate. How do we keep a brutal game where people want to watch and aspire to, but not want to play, but develop people through to continue to play our game safely? And that's why that conversation is, it's more than just an edict. It's more than just change the head high rules and therefore the game will change. No. We need to think about how we're going to see the game in 10, 20 years' time, and we need to spend a lot of time thinking about it at the end of the year.
So your club has been at the centre of this concussion issue. You've had Jake Friend retire. Boyd Cordner has been on the sidelines for a lengthy period. Luke Keary has spent a stint on the sideline because of multiple head knocks. Can you step us through now in your world when you get a HIA, the length the Roosters go to make sure that they're covering off everything that needs to happen to ensure player welfare?
Yeah, so the first thing is the assessment that's in place. Is there a concussion? Now, if there is a concussion, are there symptoms? So there's protocols for how many, if there's symptoms, have they got a headache that night, the next day? If they don't have a headache, what step do they move on to some light exercise? But if those symptoms continue, then we go and seek out specialists. We go and do objective tests. Where is your brain function at now? Where did it sit before the concussion? We do those tests before, we do them now, and if it's multiple, we retest on each one of those. And then we try and get some objective markers based on, and some subjective feeling markers as well on how they're recovering from it. And then we step the process back. And for some of those guys, one was retired because of it, another one was rested because of it, and other players will play the following week. It's not, it's everybody is an individual when it comes to that concussion.
So knowing now what you know about concussion, when you see Boyd Cordner get a concussion and then get the next concussion and the next one, what's the emotional experience for you as his coach?
Yeah, so this is why the discussion that you guys had before and the discussion that a lot of people are having now, there's absolute care for that player. You start to think about their family, themselves, their future, and you understand that you play a role in how they're going to live the rest of their life. And then on the other hand, Boyd Cordner, Jake Friend, they're special players. They're rare human beings that have inspired thousands and thousands of people. They've inspired me to be better by the way that they went about playing the game. And we want to continue that. We inspire people to live better lives, to wake up in the morning and look at the pages about how they're playing. So how do we continue to play this brutal sport and look after the players? And that's why just this, the simple discussion is not, let's do this and then it's going to change. Those two conversations about the sport that we love and play and the players that play our sport, it's going to take some time. It's not going to take an email that's sent out, which was important, but that's not enough. It's going to need to take some long-term thought at the end of the season.
So where to next for the NRL then? So they've just got through this round. Everybody's got an opinion on it, and it's very black and white, and it's at opposite ends depending on where you sit. How does the NRL manage its way through this, and how does it get the clubs on side? Because not a lot of coaches were happy. Fair to say at least half of them came off pretty critical of the interpretation. So how do they win them over?
Look, the first thing for me is we've got games on this weekend. We've got 8 games on this weekend, and I agree with what happened on the weekend. But we overcompensated. And a really simple thing is, how do the referees referee this weekend? They did what they were told and they did a really good job on it. But all concussions, they don't all come from head highs, but all concussions come from grade 2 or more. Yeah. The grade 1s on the weekend were all the ones we were going, hang on, why are they getting sent off? And then they're not causing concussions, they're incidental. So simply this weekend, grade 1s would be on report, penalty, play on. Grade 2s, you go to the sin bin like you should have. Grade 3s, you get sent off. That's really clear for referees. It's a really clear guideline for them to referee in the bunker to enact this weekend. We've already done it. That's objective. And that's what's happened. We had 7 charges of grade 2 or more, and that would have been 7 send-offs on the weekend. We averaged 2 to 3. Over the course of the last couple of years. Yeah. That would have been a crackdown. So just realign that, and then it's up to us coaches to make sure we do get that competitive advantage, to make sure we rein in so we're not having 2 or 3 each weekend. And then at the end of the year, go and get the top referees who have refereed a couple of hundred games. Go and get coaches that have coached 300 odd games, former great coaches, get administrators, get doctors in, and it's not 3 hours on a Zoom call. It'll take a week or 2 weeks. I didn't mind the dictatorship talk that we talked about before. If you want to crack down on a play the ball, crack down on a play the ball. You don't need our discussion on those. The smaller things. This is a game changer. Don't take your time. Spend some weeks on it, because it will dictate the next decade or couple of generations of our game.